Go right ahead. We're live on YouTube.
Will you make me co-host real quick?
Hi, everybody. Go ahead, Wade. You are live, my friend.
Well, that's good. Hello. I'm going to give you 15 minutes of information, which I try to do every week and keep it short. And I'm going to get started here in 1 minute. And I guess I can share the screen with you, correct, Morgan?
Yes, you should be able to share it.
Okay. Well, hello, guys. I got 15 minutes of information I want to be sharing with you guys. I think you're going to love it. It gives you a better mindset of, why things may not go the way you want them, or, why are fees being charged, stuff like that. But before we start, I just want you to know that we really appreciate how well we benefit from each other. As far as our marketing partnership with Bank Breezy and David Allen Capital. As you know, it's a 100% online process. We're providing for your client base the most needed success tool on the planet, and that is working capital. Once we fund deals, we pay every day. All you have to do really is get the word out, and I'm telling you, most of these clients are coming back 4 to 6 times to get more funding, and I've had them 7, 8, and 9 different times to receive additional funding. But today I want to talk about a couple of subjects. Let's begin with lender fees. Well, first of all, what the heck is a lender fee? Every lender in the space has some type of lender fee, some type of lender closing fee, underwriting fee, or whatever they may call it. This is to cover the cost of the underwriting, the background reports, the monthly deduction fees charged by their bank, such as bank drafts or ACH fees that they do on a daily basis. And then they got all kind of other inside staff costs. So whether they fund a deal or not, they're going to have these costs. This is on top of the cost of the actual money on the street or investor costs. This can be through a warehouse lender they may have, or an investor lender. And I'm going to give you a bunch of useless information you probably don't care about, but it gives you an idea of what's really going on, so you can kind of get a broader 10,000 foot view of what's going on. Some lenders have their own warehouse fund, which is a bank, and they lend them the funds at a specific rate each and every month, whether the funds are on the street or not. So when you have any doubt about whether they're trying to put money on the street, I promise you they are. They're trying to put every dime they can get, because when it's sitting in their own bank account, they're losing money because they're paying for that money to be sitting there. Other lenders have investors and investor pools or funds that they charge a monthly fee to have access to. So it works basically the same. So whether a warehouse, which is a bank, or an investor fund, the lender needs to get the money on the street as soon as possible. They have a huge incentive to lend these funds and not to keep them in their own bank accounts. The actual cost of funds has nothing to do with lender fees, guys. The lender fees, lenders buy at one rate and decide what to mark it up and sell to us, and we have a buy rate, and we got our commissions we got to put on there. And then when you do all this, that kind of determines what the cost of funds are. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about lender fees. Lender fees range anywhere from 0 to 8%. The A lenders usually have 0 to 2.5%. B and C lenders are almost always around 4%. And then you got the real high risk lenders that charge anywhere from 6 to 8%. And we seldom use these lenders unless there are not any other options available except that high risk lender program. And all these lender fees are absolutely dictated by the lender themselves. So lender fees are not paid up front by the client, by the way. There is never a situation where Bank Breezy or David Allen Capital will ever share in these lender fees. So these aren't our fees. These are the fees that the lender has determined it costs them, going through many files, and they have to spread out that risk to a lot of different offers that are out there. And you need to understand, when you call me up and say you need to get rid of this lender fee, sometimes I can lower it but I can never, ever, ever waive it. That's not my option. A lender fee is going to be deducted from the funding amount when the wire or the ACH is sent out to the from the lender. For example, a client's funded $10,000, the fee's 4% or $400. The client's going to receive a wire for $9,600. So they never are asked to pay upfront for any kind of fees. It's only when the money is wired is taken out of that. So that's what lender fees are, and they're put on there because there's so many files that come in there, and they run all these background reports, and they go through all the underwriting, they go through all kinds of stuff, and then they've got that real raw cost that's out of their pocket up front. So let's talk now about the next thing that people ask a lot of questions about, which are prepayment penalties. Prepayment penalties are quite different from prepayment discounts, which we'll get into in a moment. Prepayment penalties are added by a whole lot of lenders out there. None of them that we have on the Bank Breezy platform have those, but they actually penalize a customer for paying off their funding before the end of the funding or advance term. And some of those can be just a few $100s all the way up to $2,500 to $5,000. I just heard from a client that was panicking because, and I spoke to our lender. They had another lender, and in their contract hidden was a real small little paragraph that said, if you pay this thing off early, whether it's paid off by you or another lender, you got a $2,500 penalty. So they were hitting this lady up for $2,500 for getting money through us. But you know what we're doing? We're working something out where we can really help out this client on costs and that sort of thing. But that's just not the way to do business, and it happens all the time. And again, we don't represent any lender that has prepayment penalties, but that's quite different from prepayment discounts. Since most of our funding we provide is actually an advance on future payables or future receivables, which is really the future revenue of the company. Most of our lender partners provide prepayment discounts should the client decide to pay the funding or the advance off 100% early. It doesn't mean they can go send a lump sum and get that discount. They got to pay it off in full. And there are no discounts for simply paying those lump sum fragmented payments. So if they say, I want to send $5,000, they're welcome to do that, but they're not going to get a discount for doing it. And these discounts are not applicable if the client actually goes with another lender, and that lender competitor, that lender pays off our funding with our lender programs. It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't work anywhere like that in our industry. So the only way they get these discounts is if they pay it off themselves in full. Now, there are two ways that lenders calculate prepayment discounts. The first way is they do it on a cost of funds basis, where they have a 20 to 25% discount. And as an example here, let's just take $100,000. It was a 135 sell rate, so it's 135,000 payback. The cost of funds is 35,000. So the discount's only going to be off that entire that 35,000, not the entire 135. That was it was funded. So the 20 to 25% is going to be off of the 35,000, not the 135,000. Okay. The second way that lenders have prepayment discounts is by changing the initial factor rate. And here's an example. The client has taken out 100,000 in funding with a payback amount of 135, so it's a 135 factor rate. Then they say, well, listen, I got funds in from a sale of a property, or I've got an SBA. I'm just going to pay this thing off right now. I got all the money. So the lender then gives a lower set of factor rates that they're going to calculate what that payoff is. Here's an example of what I want to show you. So they say, listen, it's been 30 days in, and instead of looking at the 135, so let's just on month one they gave a 118 factor rate. What that means is, instead of that 135 being what we're talking about, it's going to be based on the 118. So it's going to be based on 18,000 that they're getting that determining their payoff. Or in month two, a 1.2, 1.23, and month 3 and a 1.27. That's one that we actually did this week on a couple of them. So if you look at the bottom line is that, as an example, month 3, they want to basically pay off that 135. That 135 now is a 123. So it's 123,000 minus all the payments that they made, and then that will come up with what the total discount is. So it's two different ways that lenders use. They either give a discount, and you think that a 20 to 25, even a 30% discount of cost of funds, like I showed you on example 1, would be larger. And it sounds bigger, but this is actually a better deal for them, because this comes out to like 35% on month 1 or higher. So prepayment discounts are all over the place for us. We can decide that as they go. So that's talking about different fees and discounts, but I want to spotlight 5 deals this week with you. And basically what happened with each one of these. Number 1 was a medical equipment sales company that we gave $250,000 to. The lender fee on that was 3%. Their use of funds were that they're going to buy anesthetic equipment and supplies for inventory. These equipment can be $100,000 or more, but these are the smaller devices of 10,000. He just wanted to inventory a whole lot of this stuff because business is booming. Number 2, we had a construction company. We gave $325,000 with a 3% lender fee, and their use of fund was to purchase solar equipment inventory. They just moved into that sector of business, and they're excited about it, but they need the inventory to make it happen. We also, on number 3, funded a bakery for $75,000. Their lender fee was 2.5%. The use of funds was really they needed to expand their kitchen. They got to buy more stoves, that sort of thing, because they got to hire some new staff because they were able to pick up a large client that they're going to be doing catering and that sort of stuff for. So, and not necessarily just catering, they were also going to be supplying them with different bakery products for their locations. We had a restaurant. We did a $50,000 funding. That was at a 4% lender fee. They just wanted to expand their outside because their inside so full. They needed to put space on the outside with a cover on it so that their customers could have a place to sit and eat if they want. And then finally, the next one I want to spotlight is an ambulance service that we gave $65,000 to at a 4% lender fee. The use of funds were to purchase really 2 ambulances that were used for just general transport, not necessarily for an emergency, but just to take maybe an elderly person from a hospital and then moving them over to their extended care facility. So that's pretty much what I have for today, and I'll stop sharing. And I'll, as I told you before, I want to make these things short, sweet, and to the point. And if you have any questions about lender fees, prepayment discounts, or prepayment penalties, I'll be glad to answer them.
All right, looks like we've got John Arthur. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, I was wondering if that last slide you showed with those 5 examples, is that something that we could share with potential clients as an example? We do it.
Yeah, of course, because we're not using names. We're just giving you real. The reason you can use them is they're real. Okay. If they weren't real and I was just making them up, no, you probably wouldn't want to use them. But they are true fundings that we did over the last 7 days.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Demetrios. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me okay, Wade?
Yes, I hear you fine. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. My question is on the business lending, the line of credit. I've been hearing some negative reports in the industry about line of credit. Is still a viable product with DAC, or are we having problems with it?
We funded like we're doing them every week. I mean, we got lots of lines of credit pulls this week. it's a very viable product. It's not viable in construction. It's not viable in any type of trucking. It's not viable in any kind of real estate at all. But as long as their credit scores are up around that 700, and they're doing at least 50,000 a month, and then they can pretty much, as long as their credit's there, and they're not on one of these prohibited industries or restricted industries, then we're making offers every week on lines of credit. It's just, if their credit's going to be below 700, they're not going to get it. This is not happening.
They got to have 700? Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have that now.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we've got Dr. Alberto. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the information. I specifically and particularly like those spotlight deals. I think they provide a lot of clarity and give us a direction as far as who gets funded and what type of funding they receive. So my question is it possible to get a list of maybe a month or 2 months of those spotlight deals so we have an idea of what's possible and what's happened?
Well, I think David would be you can send an email and suggest that for David. I'm sure we can probably put something up, however David decides he wants to do it.
Great. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we've got Carolyn Clyde. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, Wade, and thanks for this training. I'm really enjoying it and learning a lot. But a quick question in regards to this, the funding spotlights, were any of these and just all these are just big fundings, or were some of them based on equipment financing?
None of them were equipment. Equipment finance is a very difficult thing to get these days because they're doing so much more based on credit, and that's why revenue-based financing is so much, our funding is so much simpler. But yeah, these are all fundings.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Next up, we've got Cheryl King Weathers. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, Wade and the DAC team on the call today. I had a question about a deal that you and I were trying to put together in regards to someone seeking funding. And my question is, the terms, as long as it is 8 months the maximum, or was that just for that particular case, that particular person's case?
Yeah, and it's 100% all the time based on the file itself. I mean, I just gave an offer for $244,000 to a doctor for 24 months. I just gave an 18 months to a florist who said that the rate was too high, which comes out to less than 20% a year for the money. So we can go long, but it's based on a lot of factors: their daily balances, their revenue, their FICO, what kind of positions they have. So all of that comes into play when it comes into the term side of it, and it's all decided upon by the each lender. But you will notice, I noticed that almost all lenders have about the same period of time on that file. So when I get 3 or 7 offers in, they're all within 30 days of the same amount, and usually within a couple of dollars of the amount. Every once in a while, like this week, I had one that was I got one lender to offer $64,000 to a nail salon that we funded, that everyone else had offered 25 to 30. So of course we went to 65, and the payback period on that was about 8 months or 9 months, something like that.
I see. Thank you, Wade.
You're welcome.
All right, next up, we've got Steve Leeser. You can unmute yourself.
Oh, hey, good morning, Wade.
Hey, Steve.
A great training once again, as always, really appreciated it. But have a question for you about funding. In the past, I thought I heard for gig workers, we could do pretty low amounts. I thought I heard in the past, I'm not sure if we ever actually offered it or if we were just considering it. but I thought I heard we could possibly go as low as $500 to $1,500 a month. And I just wanted to follow up with you on that because my question is, I'm talking to somebody, retail business, really, really small amount, so that they're doing small amount of revenue right now. And she's asked me, for a larger amount. So I'm just wondering, can we fund as low as 500 to 1,500, or is it basically 3,000 right now? That's my question.
Now, the funding itself can be 500 to 1,500, but if they're doing less than 3,000 in revenue, they can't get funded with us.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I kind of told her. I just wanted to follow up. Thank you.
And by the way, Steve, congratulations on that 250,000 funding. You did a great job.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Wade. It's all about you making it happen for them. So they really appreciate it, and I appreciate it. So again, as always, thanks for your support.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we've got Eric Brooks. You can unmute yourself.
Hey, Wade, how's it going?
Good.
I know I haven't been around for a while, but I just had a quick question because I have a potential client who's looking for equipment funding. Could you tell me what the parameters are looking at right now?
Well, you need to be doing about 15,000 a month in revenue. You need to have about a 680 credit. You're talking about equipment, right?
Yes.
680 credit. They will not fund anything in the transportation business, any food trucks, anything. They will not finance any equipment that is has a title attached to it, like a truck or anything, a dump truck or anything like that.
Okay. He's actually looking to try to get skids and like a backhoe or something. So
yeah, they'll actually, I can do backhoes and that sort of thing, but not vehicles that you're going to have on the street.
Oh, okay.
All right, and they can't. They got to have 15,000. You got to have a good FICO, and you can't be in the trucking industry.
Okay.
And they can't. Well, you know, the next one doesn't really matter. I would have to look at, but I hope that helped answered your question.
Oh no, definitely. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. And next up, we have, I don't have a name here, but it's Motorola Moto G 5G. So if that is you, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Oh, yes, that's me, Marnika Ward. Good morning, Mr. Cordell and DAC team. For the ambulance service, what would be the terms or FICO? Is that based on their revenue, or if they're trying to get it off the ground, what would they have to have?
A miracle to get paid, to get any funding if they're trying to get it off the ground, because we don't do startups unless they're at least 6 months old, because this is revenue-based funding. This is all revenue. They had a good FICO. They have great revenue monthly, and it was really not a difficult deal for us at all.
Okay, so they have to at least be in business 6 months?
Well, they got to have at least 4 months. We prefer 6. And they really need to be, I mean, they're not going to get, as you know, in revenue-based funding, if their FICO is not a decent FICO, they'll get anywhere from 50% all the way up to 200% of what they're doing monthly in revenue. But if they've been in business less than a year, it'll never be over 100%.
Okay. And then for California loans, the 10K in 10 minutes, what would be their, what would they need in order to get that?
They need a miracle to get that 10,000 in 10 minutes, because we don't fund in California, we don't fund in New York that. But if they're doing 15,000 or higher in revenue, then they can just submit it to directly into the system, and we handle that, because we fund in California every day and in New York every day.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. And last but not least, we've got Christopher Sanchez. You can unmute yourself.
Wade, thank you so much for sharing. It's always insightful what you share. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
My question is in regards to when a company tries for funding and they're denied. Is it suggested to them in possibly 3 months what steps they may take to help improve their eligibility to receive funding at a rate that they're comfortable with, or not a rate, factoring rate that they're comfortable with?
Okay. You asked a question that could go either way. I mean, I think what you're asking me is if they're turned down, how long they should wait, and do we tell them what they need to do to the next time get funded, right?
Oh, no, not that they're turned down. They're just they're not comfortable with the factoring rate. They want it to be lower, but because of their present situation, that's the best they're going to be offered.
Well, one of the reasons could be their time in business and all that, and that there's nothing we can do about that until they've been in business for at least a year or so. Number two, it could be their FICO's going in. We can't help them until they help themselves by getting that FICO up. And number three, it could be revenue. And we basically couldn't help them unless they get the revenue at a higher thing, or if they got the revenue already, Chris, but their daily balances are $10 or less than what the payment would be. Then they're going to have to improve all of those things to be able to get a better rate the next time. But and if they do decide not to take it, they got to wait 30 days and then they can reapply and we'll try again.
Okay, no, thank you very much.
You're welcome. I appreciate it. Good questions. All right, I guess that's everything. And David, you have anything you want to say, or?
No, I think you did a fabulous job, Dr. Roberto. I like the idea of having a longer list of clients. We'll make that happen. I took a screenshot of those 5. Good stuff. I would just say the only thing I want to mention is commissions. Keep in mind, everybody, commissions are a percent of bonus revenue. Bonus revenue is determined based on how we get paid, and commissions are always in flux until funding. Just know that, there's never a set commission amount until the deal is funded, because on a funding call, something could come up where the lender says, or the provider advance company says, oh, we don't feel comfortable anymore because we just saw your bank statements and ABC, your daily balance is way down, or your sales are way down, or something happened in the last 20 days and we're not comfortable. We need to change the terms. That's why they do a funding call. It's not just to give the money, it's to verify and confirm some things. And so we can't tell you what the commission is going to be until we're paid the commission. And we know it's a rule of thumb is usually bonus revenue is 10% of the funded amount, but it may only be 30% of the funded amount. I'm sorry, 3% or 7%. So just know that we take a flat percentage of what we get and pass it on in commissions. Just know that. So there's not an expectation that causes frustration. We pay out 90% of what we get is bonus revenue. And so that means we're paying out almost all or more than all of what we get in some cases. So if you got less, sorry, that means we got a lot less too, but there's a reason we had to get less is to make the deal happen. So just know that going into the next season of growth, we're having massive growth right now. You guys are doing phenomenal, but as we grow more, we take on more providers to approve more deals, but some of those deals are at a reduced commission. And we'd rather get a reduced commission than no commission at all. So just understand that that may happen more as a higher percentage as we grow, because you're getting more opportunities. That's all. Wade, anything you want to add to that on the commission discussion? I know that wasn't the purpose of today.
Yeah, and just to clarify one thing you said, things change because we haven't seen the month-to-date bank account. And when we see the month-to-date bank account, sometimes it's a disaster. They lost their revenue or lost half of it, or they took a funding, or some other crazy thing that could have happened, or they changed their bank. And usually that's not a good thing when you change your bank during the funding cycle. So all that changes, which means just what David said, the risk has totally changed from what we had given that one offer. So all of a sudden, the lender, after they finish that call, contacts us and says, listen, I'll do the deal, but I'm cutting 5 points off this deal, or I'm adding this to it, or I'm doing that. And it's not a, what do you think about that way? It's take it or leave it.
Yeah. Yep. Well said. Thank you,
All
buddy.
right.